As mentioned, the Electoral Commission conducted presidential elections on Thursday, 14th January 2021. And the results for presidential elections by law had to be declared within 48 hours from the closure of polling. The polls having closed at 4 p.m. on Thursday, 14th January, the 48 hours expired at 4 p.m. on Saturday, 16th January 2021. So the Commission acted within the law, within the legal timelines, the statutory timelines set out in the provisions of the law when we declared the outcome of the presidential elections. The results of the presidential elections were announced cumulatively in the order in which they were being received, leading to a declaration by the Electoral Commission based on the total number of 33,461 polling stations. At the time the declaration was made within the stipulated timeline, we had gathered results from 33,461 polling stations, which had been duly received and verified before the expiry of the 48 hours. These stations accounted for 96.47% of the total number of polling stations, which, as we said earlier on, are 34,684 across the country. The declaration met the legal requirements of Section 57, subsection 4 of the Presidential Elections Act, which provides that a candidate shall be declared as president if he or she has obtained more than 50% of the valid votes cast at the election. The candidate who was declared a winner obtained more than 50% of the total votes cast in the said election. The Commission considered the fact that the difference in votes obtained by the leading candidate and the first runner-up will not have a significant effect on the final results, even if all the voters from the remaining 1,223 polling stations, totaling to 694,229 voters, were to be added to the first runner-up. The Electoral Commission has since received and tallied the results of the remaining polling stations. Accordingly, the final summary of presidential election results is as follows. Registered voters, 18,103,603. 18,103,603. Total number of polling stations in the country, 34,684. Total number of polling stations received and verified, 34,601, which represents 99.76% of the total polling stations. This represents 99.76% of the total polling stations. Now, these are the final votes or results of votes as obtained by each candidate from those 34,601 polling stations. Amuriato Boy Patrick, 337,589. 337,589. Which represents 3.26% of valid votes cast for all the candidates. Kabule Takiza Joseph, 45,424. 45424, representing 0.44% of the valid votes cast. Kalembe Nancy Linda, 38,772, which represents 0.37%. Katumba John, 37,554, representing 0.36%. Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu, 3,631,437. 3,631,437, which represents 35.08%. 35.08%. Mao Nobat, 57,682, representing 0.56%. Mayambala Wile, 15,014, representing 0.15%. Mugisha Muntu Greg, 67,574, representing 0.65%. Mwesige Fred, 25,483, representing 0.25%. Tumukunde Henry Kakurugu, 51,392, representing 0.50%. Yoweri Museveni Kibuhaburwa Kaguta, 6,042,898. 6,042,898, representing 58.38%. Valid votes, 10,350,819. 10,350,819. Invalid votes, 393,500. 393,500. This represents 3.66% of the total votes cast. Total votes, therefore, is 10,744,319. 10,744,319, representing 59.35% of the registered voters. Spoiled votes, 29,913. 83 polling stations with a total number of 54,337. 54,357 registered voters were not included in the final tally due to various reasons that include: 1. Allegations of ballot stuffing that resulted into violence and destruction of the voting materials at the polling stations. The other reason affecting some of the polling stations was grabbing of polling materials during the counting process. The third reason, grabbing of polling materials during the polling process, including envelopes containing elections results forms. The fourth reason was declaration of results forms were missing in the results envelopes and a metallic black box. The fifth reason was that the total votes cast that were counted in some polling stations exceeded the number of registered voters for some polling stations. The other reason was acts of hooliganism and violence during the county, leading to grabbing of polling materials by unknown persons. In one area, I think it was in Kole, where the materials were being transported back to the tally center from the polling station, and unknown persons or thugs ambushed the officers who were transporting that kit and grabbed it, and then splashed the contents in a swamp of water, and they were all destroyed. Wakiso, Mukono, Sironko, Kampala, Kotido, Bundibujo, Kyotera, Sembabule, Rakai, Bukomansimbi, Lyantonde, Jinja City, Soroti, Lamuon, Gomba, and Jinja. All these constitute 83 polling stations. Now, the total number of voters in those polling stations, registered voters, in those 83 polling stations are 54,357. But we understand there were some areas where some men in uniform acted in an indisciplined manner. And I think if you remember, Sembabule is one of those, it is one of the districts where we nullify, where we did not take into account, or where we did not get the results from 15 polling stations. And all that was on account of some of those things you are reporting about. So let me say this: wherever there was wrongdoing and it was reported and it interfered with the process, particularly of ascertaining the actual results from that polling station, the commission did not take that station into account. That's why Zimbabwe is one of them, among others. We not take that into account. So this could have disadvantaged, of course, some candidates, but there it is, because that's what the law commands us to do. Once there is interference or disruption, and the outcome from that polling station cannot be ascertained, forget about that polling station. Now, the detail I was looking for when I was going through these papers is to, because the question Beck has asked, that all those districts is where the stronghold is. It, what was the question? That those were Kyagulanyi stronghold. Therefore, you can see the question, and therefore you deliberately left out these districts where if you had got all his votes, they would have made the margin each shoot up 54,000 voters. You can do your arithmetic there. From the figures we have given you of the difference between the winner and the runner-up. And you can, okay, supposing all these polling stations, the results had been declared, what would have been the final tally? And you have 54,357. Then you get a final tally. And these things will happen. These things happened. We all have all the details, what happened at every polling station, the kind of abnormality that took place, the kind of wrongdoing that was occasioned. We have all those details. But the final tally, from all these 83 polling stations, 54,000, you do your arithmetic there. And it is not true, if I could give you the figures, that's also not true that Kyagulanyi won in all these districts. It's not true. This is what we're looking for to make our case. Social media footages showing armed policemen guarding people, pre-taking ballot papers. I've seen people have shown me those footages, those are on social media. They have shown me. And we have taken the step to ask the police to verify the veracity, authenticity of those footages. Were those really our ballot papers or not? Were those the people in, you say policemen? Were those members of Uganda police force or not? So, but you know, social media and the technology now, you can make something to appear original, authentic, and believable, isn't it? So, but that is now for the investigative agencies which have the competence and the skills to verify the authenticity of some of those things. We have alerted the police and asked them to investigate each of these reported incidents at the various polling stations that amount to 83, as we mentioned, where there was interference or violent disruption of the processes that rendered it impossible to get the final result from these polling stations. That's now a matter of subject to police investigations. We have not yet had a feedback from them, one as to whether they have been able to carry out any arrests, either of individual citizens or even members of our staff. But this is a matter that we are following up. I want to assure you, we view this as a very grave matter where people deliberately come and disrupt the electoral processes and even grab or steal the election materials, thus rendering it impossible for the commission to declare the outcome from that, to tally and declare the outcome from that particular polling station. So I do not have the statistics right now with me, but I want to assure you it's in the interest of the commission to ensure that such ugly episodes do not manifest themselves in our electoral processes, because it undermines the whole essence of developing our democracy to the level where people feel that participating in an election is a joyous and purposeful event where they determine who their leaders should be. We are following up this so that we do not have a repetition of the same. Oh, it's not strange for us to receive results from a far-off area like Karenga or Kotido in Karamoja before we receive the results from Semukono or Kampala. And as I said, it depends on various factors, notably the numbers of voters and the numbers of polling stations. You very well know that just one division of Kampala has registered voters that exceed the entire Karamoja sub-region. We know that. I don't have the statistics here, but I could have shown you what, for example, Makindye or Nakawa division, the total number of registered voters compared to, say, to Karenga or the entire Karamoja region. So it's not surprising, therefore, that you can get those results from far-off areas. And remember, these results were being transmitted electronically, not physically. If they were being transmitted by road, you'd say, how did the truck or vehicle move all the way from Karenga to Kyambogo in such a short time? They were being transmitted electronically. So that to me is not surprising, because Kampala has heavy density voters register, heavy density polling stations, and so on and so forth. So getting through all that to not therefore be surprising that you get those results much later. But you saw it even in these local government elections. Then some results were declared as late as, was it Tuesday or something like that?